Chapter 1, I Am Not Me. Her name is Zhong Kuei-yu. She is Zhong Kuei, not Zhong Kuei. She is just an ordinary high school girl. She is no more or no less than 16 years old in her prime. She has nothing special in her life. She is more indifferent than ordinary people. She likes reading books more than watching TV. She likes all kinds of books. She has learned various myths from humans, especially comics, but she is not a bookworm. If there are any merits worth bragging about in life, then a slightly better memory may be one of them. Okay, it's better than just a little bit. I've never forgotten it. As for her biggest ideal in life, she is to become a military officer, because she feels that her personality is very suitable. Like, why should I introduce myself before starting the article? She couldn't figure that out either. Finally, please have no doubt that she, Zhong Kuei-yu, whose surname is Zhong Kuei and whose given name is Yu, is a standard Chinese without any water. And this Zhong Kuei is just a very rare and ancient surname. She doesn't want to say it for the nth time. The story begins on an ordinary Sunday. As a student, this is a rare day when you can sleep in at home, especially since she is nicknamed the sleep god by her classmates. She usually does not get up before noon. She cannot be blamed for this problem, but it seems that she has often been unable to wake up since she was a child. It's a pity that the wonderful rest day ended with a phone ringing. Ring, 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 ring. The urgent phone call suddenly rang, like a reminder that it would not stop. Cursing, Kuei-yu finally covered her head with the quilt, covered her ears, and didn't intend to pay attention to it. If you want to ring it, just ring it. My parents are still here anyway. But a certain girl went berserk. But why didn't anyone answer the phone for a long time? Aren't my parents at home? Who the hell called so early, looking for trouble? If no one answers, just hang up. Why are you calling again and again and again? Unable to sleep due to the noise, Mo simply lifted the quilt and sat up angrily, looking like he was going to bite someone. A certain month was very angry now, so she grabbed her phone and took a look. Okay, it's only 10 o'clock, still early. Just when a certain month was angrily getting up to answer the phone, the ringing stopped suddenly. Okay, are you kidding her? The sweet dream was awakened by someone. Finally, Kuei-yu sat by the bed and found that she couldn't fall asleep. All right, then get up. Putting on clothes, Mo opened the door and walked towards the living room. Who can tell her where this place is? Look at the big ornate pillars, they are Greek style. Look at the exquisite home decoration, which is in the Baroque style. Finally, there is this big house that looks like a palace at first sight. But this is just a corridor. Okay, so she is still dreaming? What a mouthful. When you wake up and open the door, it's a different place. That's not the joke. Frustrated face. She probably didn't wake up, automatically ignoring the maid-like creatures that followed her and kept shouting, "Miss, Miss." A certain girl decisively returned to the room and closed the door. Oh. Stunned. Instantly petrified. This world is really crazy. Wait. As an excellent soft girl from China, who can tell her what this is all about? Is this your room? She clearly came out from here, but why did it turn into a luxurious palace-style, super large bedroom that was larger than her home in an instant? Miss Saori. There was a knock on the door. Who is Shaori? When did you get such a Japanese name? She also has the same name as a certain idiot goddess. As a standard Saint Seiya fan, a certain arrogant young lady obviously cannot get her approval. Wait, could it be that I traveled through time? Just like the one in I'm Not So Lucky. Thinking of this, she rushed into the bathroom like a moon and stood in front of the mirror. She was stunned again with her gorgeousness. In the mirror in front of her is a girl with a beautiful face. Even though her expression is ferocious, she is full of nobility, holiness, and warmth. This is a pure and beautiful face, with no obvious male or female appearance, or to be more precise, it can be either male or female. Her beauty seems to have nothing to do with gender. It is a beautiful face that is between male and female, as if the original purity of the world. But, why would Mao become like this? Could it be that she fell into another dimension? All right. She had to admit that this extremely holy face was very pleasing to the eye, and she had the aura of a goddess when she smiled well. This was really good luck. She, Kuei-ue, was originally a beauty, but compared to the one in front of her, she couldn't help but feel ashamed. She saw that the person in the mirror had the most enviable smooth skin with 0 pores, like a peeled egg, and a bright and beautiful face. The eyes, a small palm-sized face, have exquisite facial features, a pair of eyes that are like condensed radiance, a head of soft silver curly hair that reaches the knees, shining like stars and nebulae, and a graceful and enviable figure. Although the face is still secretly childish, it is already charming enough. This is probably the most beautiful person she has ever seen in her life. But this doesn't seem to be the time to enjoy the beauty with peace of mind. Ah, please forgive her for crying out uncontrollably. Bump! Along with a certain month scream, the door was also rushed open. 1 month, she asked herself that she had not met any gods, nor bought any weird gadgets. Of course, she had not died, and she had not even made any wishes. Why could she travel through time? In fact, Kiyuki Tsuna really hopes that some great god will suddenly appear at this time and tell her the cause of the incident, and that she has traveled through time. With the memories of the past, she has traveled through time and become the 13-year-old goddess Sari Kido. Or did Kido Sari forget her own memory, then had a dream and became herself? She didn't know. The only thing she was sure of was that although she looked nothing like her, she was indeed the classic vase goddess. Wait, she seems to be just a vase lady here. Although she doesn't want to admit it, the reality she is facing now is that no great god has come out to explain the details to her, let alone give her a certain ability, and she has no special skills. You must know that she is just an ordinary girl. In fact, she is a standard flower vase. Although she is dressed as Kido Sari, she is not the original one after all. Where does the small universe come from to save the world? All right, those are not important. What is important is how she should deal with the guy in front of her. Sitting in the luxurious living room, Jeom Kuyu faced the inquiring eyes of the old housekeeper. Although her heart was tingling, she still thanked God that Mitsumasa Kido, the old fox, was dead. Otherwise, she would really have no confidence that she could deceive him. But even so, she still had to pretend to be calm. Quizuki was not stupid. She knew very well that facing the old housekeeper who was very familiar with Kido Sari, even the slightest abnormality would arouse suspicion. So the way to deal with it is naturally the most common trick used by all time-traveling girls. However, she can't stand the way those time-traveling girls use cliches in the name of amnesia when facing their family members or maids after time-traveling, and they also use very clumsy calculations that can be seen through at a glance. This has made Joan Kuei-ue unhappy for a long time. Does she think everyone else is a fool? A person who truly has amnesia would be very disturbed in this situation, rather than trying to deceive others. In the end, Kuei-ue asked herself that she was not very good at deceiving people, so she simply chose to pretend to be stupid. After all, didn't she have amnesia? Thinking of this, Jeom Kuei-ue quickly made up her mind. Facing the old housekeeper's questions one after another, she gorgeously chose not to know. With a timid and uneasy look, he shook his head at all questions. I just hope her acting skills can pass. Zeus, regardless of whether I am your daughter or not, please bless me. Finally, after surviving the old man's disguised interrogation, Jeom Kuei-ue certainly did not miss the gorgeous and embarrassing faces of those people. No matter at any time, our Miss Jeom Kuei-ue is still in the mood of watching a show. With an innocent expression on her face, Jeom Kuei-ue looked at the rambling old housekeeper, who was full of snot and tears. Of course, she took in what the old housekeeper said word by word. The most important thing now was that she had to collect as much useful information as possible. So, here comes the useful information. First of all, when is this? Answer. 1 month before the Galactic War. And now, the original vase goddess has been replaced by her, a girl who is worse than a vase. Okay, although she didn't want to face it, it was a fact. No matter what, she is still a goddess. But what about herself? Where did this guy come from, let alone awaken this small universe? Well, the world is dark. In the end, Kuiwa has never felt so hopeless in life. Jean Kuiwa didn't know what to do, but that group of people had already gotten the answer. No matter what, they had to carry out cramming education first. In short, they had to resolve the Galactic War first. So Kuiwa's good days of leisurely laziness came to an end. What should you do as an excellent noble lady? First of all, you must have temperament, knowledge, perfect manners, and no one or two aristocratic sports. Jean Kuiwa looked at the schedule arranged by the old housekeeper for her, and 1 month she felt the urge to hit a wall. Almost every day is full of courses, ranging from developing manners and temperament to various subjects to astronomy and geography and even equestrian. Jean Kuiwa felt more and more that the goddess was really not made by humans. She had only been here for a few days and already had to face a mountain of courses and become familiar with the affairs of the Kido Zaibatsu. In fact, Jean Kuiwa has never loved her photographic memories so much. It is so fast to learn. Of course, there is also the body of Saori Kido, which is truly the body of a goddess. She is as tired as a dog every day, but does not leave any adverse reactions the next day. And although Jean Kuiwa didn't know what was in the original Saori's head, she was absolutely sure that Saori's brain was definitely smart enough and had super understanding ability. Jean Kuiwa only felt that even her own brain was much smarter, and she was indeed the reincarnation of the goddess of wisdom. Of course, what impressed Jean Kuiwa was the motor skills of this vase goddess. Coupled with her photographic memory, she could instantly master any sport. She was worthy of being a Valkyrie. Moyua sighed again. It is said that Mao has such a genius physical condition, but the original goddess is so. A vase? Moyua doesn't understand. What makes her jaw drop is, of course, Kido Saori study. The amount of books there is even 2 to 3 times more exaggerated than the Atobi family's study in the anime. Don't tell her that Kido Saori has read them all, otherwise she will hit the wall. The following days passed quickly. Although every day was spent in uninterrupted courses and documents, her learning ability in a certain month was praised by many teachers. The old housekeeper was even moved to say that the original lady was back, so Kuiwa finally graduated successfully. What did Jean Kuiwa do? In fact, Jean Kuiwa felt that she had done nothing. She just went to class and hid in her room to practice a goddess-like smile in front of a mirror. Combining the manners and manners she learned with the original temperament of her body, this pseudo-goddess was born. Of course, this is just pretense. I feel like her current acting skills are on the upswing. Chapter 2 Goddess. Goddess. Is it darkness? No. This is not darkness. I feel like this for no reason. I can't see myself, as if I am just a spiritual body. There was no darkness or light here. She seemed to be in a void where nothing existed. That is void, that is chaos. She has been staying here, feeling as if she has spent millions of years in this chaos. Suddenly opening her eyes, Saori, from now on, Kiyuki will be called Saori, woke up from her dream. She sat beside the bed in a daze and recalled her dream, a dream that seemed to be somewhat familiar. This dream seemed like a TV series. It was just a blur at the beginning. It could not be called darkness, and there was no light, or more accurately, it was nothing. Looking around, there was only void, silence, and no signs of life. A voice told her that this was chaos. Saori has been having this dream constantly in the past few days, and she even feels that hundreds of millions of years have passed. She knew this was her illusion, but she had been having this kind of dream for several days in a row. In fact, Saori felt that her spirit should be very exhausted. She remembered that dreaming was proof that she had not slept well, not to mention that he had been having this kind of dream for several days in a row, but why did she feel 100 times more energetic? Look in the mirror. Okay. not even the slightest trace of dark circles. Perhaps because of Saori's good performance, her daily classes are gradually decreasing. In fact, she has more and more free time. As time went by, it was not far from the beginning of the comic, so Saori began to gradually recall the plot of the comic, trying hard to make the plot develop quickly, because she wanted to see the Golden Saint. In fact, among many comics, Kido Saori has always been one of the more annoying heroines. Facing such a powerful enemy, she seems to have always been either a burden or destined to die. Athena in Greek mythology is obviously so tough, but why did she turn around and become a vase? But in fact, I currently don't have any qualifications to criticize others. Or she could consider learning some kung fu or something. But what's the use of learning those skills? Especially when facing the Saint Seiya. But since you don't want to learn kung fu, there's nothing wrong with improving your physique, right? Although she said she wanted to improve her physique, she didn't have the slightest idea of how to do it. Usually, following the habits in shonen comics, she would start with running and gravity kicks. Well, rather than just sitting around and waiting to die, let's do it first. But how could she have a gravity button in a girl's family, so she could only rely on the old housekeeper Chinji? Maybe rich people always have some obsession with gorgeousness and beauty. On the second night, Saori finally received the so-called gravity button ordered by the old housekeeper to make it overnight. It really blinded her eyes. Straight face. It is said to be a box of gravity buckles, but in fact they are almost comparable to handicrafts, and people cannot think of gravity buckles at all. According to the old housekeeper, how could something like a gravity buckle appear on the beautiful, noble, and elegant young lady of our family? The old housekeeper proudly picked up one and introduced it to Shaji. For him, this kind of practical and beautiful thing was suitable for his beautiful and noble goddess lady. Shaji sweated a little as she looked at this box, which could be used as both an ornament and a gravity buckle. The surface, made of pure gold, was engraved with delicate and intricate reliefs, and there was a metallic liquid flowing on it. The middle of the ornament was hollow, and lead sand was added to it to form a gravity buckle. "What is this?" Shaji asked the old housekeeper, pointing at the metallic liquid. The old housekeeper said proudly, "This is the famous liquid titanium ore, one of the 7 beauties in the world." So Shaji was embarrassed. Why did Mao still use something from Hunter here? If you are so arrogant in casting it into something like this, aren't you afraid of meeting Krallo? Although she really wanted to meet the leader for the sake of his own safety, he currently did not have the habit of bringing the most dangerous gang of robbers in the world to his home. Shaji shook her head, put aside those thoughts, and decided to train herself first. First check what's inside the box. 2 belts, 2 pairs of armbands for pairs of bracelets, a bunch of necklaces, and a pair of gold high heels. Everything is equally golden. Bring a belt, an armband, a pair of bracelets, a necklace, and as for the gold shoes, then wear them at home. Putting on an ancient Greek-style dress, paired with these accessories, and standing in front of the mirror, Saori even felt that she was becoming more and more like an ancient Greek goddess. She raised a goddess-like smile that she had practiced hundreds of times in front of the mirror. In fact, she was Athena now, although she was even more useless than the original one. After being armed, Saori added another running task to her daily tasks. I ran around the huge Kido house, 2 laps at first, and then 10 laps. Although Saori has no interest in self-abuse, but since she discovered that there may be hunters in this world, she suddenly discovered that it is still beneficial to occasionally self-abuse. Then there is the small universe. It has been a while since Saori came here. There are still 15 days before the plot begins. She has not seen any movement from the small universe yet. Could it be that she really didn't have a small universe forever? What about the plot? Saori was tangled. She had to find a way to understand the small universe as soon as possible. What to do? Suddenly an idea appeared in Shaji's mind. Meditation. This is something that keeps appearing in fantasy, and even martial arts and fan fiction. Even Shaka often meditates. Maybe this can help her. So Saori started to sit and meditate every day when she had nothing to do. Meditation is a technical job. This is something Sari only learned about recently. As expected, you won't know until you try it, and you'll be shocked once you try it. She also meditated with her eyes closed, calming her mind and making herself calm. Sari felt nothing. Continue the next day. There is chaos in front of me, endless as far as the eye can see, and it is quiet as if there is nothing. Okay. She admitted that she fell asleep. There are still 10 days until the Galactic War begins. Sitting before doing work, Shazi said to the old housekeeper, "Chinji, how many people are back now?" The old housekeeper said, "Miss, 6 people have returned." Sari nodded and said nothing, secretly thinking about how to speed up the development of the plot. 6 people? Sari knew that according to the plot of the manga, only Seiya, someone from the unicorn constellation, Hyuga, and Ikki were left. The Galactic War was about to begin, and the plot was about to begin, but the small universe still didn't. Zeus, come and save me, etc. This is the first time Sari has carefully reviewed the plot since she came here. She remembers that the sanctuary seems to prohibit private fights between saints, but Kido Sari still wants to hold this galactic war? If Kido Sari doesn't know, then that's the devil. That's right. To find the true saint who can fight against evil. While Sari doesn't think Saga is evil, Kido Sari, the original Kido Sari, seems to think so. But since I know the development of the plot, why bother holding such an event? It's really not worth it to make excuses for others to cause trouble for her. Thinking of this, Sari became less and less interested in this galactic war. It would be great if it could be cancelled. When Shaji told the old housekeeper this idea, the old housekeeper asked in surprise, "Miss, why?" "We have completed all the preparations." Shaji stood in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling window, looking into the distance, looking like a magic stick, and said, "Chinji, it's no longer necessary." The old housekeeper looked at Shaji in embarrassment and said, "But, miss..." Shaji said, "I already have the answer to what I want." "What about Gladio Arena?" "Isn't it still an arena?" Sari said with a goddess-like smile, "Yes, miss." "And miss, it will be your 13th birthday in a few days. You see." "Chinji, let's hold a dinner party. Only invite those saints who have arrived. It's time to meet them." In fact, when it comes to meeting those saints, Sari doesn't have much confidence, and her character is not as ladylike as the original one, but this kind of thing cannot be avoided anyway, so why not let her conquer others? Sari sat in her room meditating alone. Although she could not understand the small universe after so many days of meditation, it at least improved her mental power significantly. Although there is no small universe, it would be better to have strong mental power. Tomorrow night is her birthday party. She is about to officially face the Saint Seiya, which is also a test of her 1-month training. Ah, what a headache. Sari sighed heavily and opened her eyes. In fact, she still has no confidence in being a goddess. She is just an ordinary high school girl without that kind of great ideological awareness. She is not a goddess, and she does not have the kind of powerful strength that can convince those golden saints, nor any amazing special abilities. As long as there is another choice, she does not want to become Kido Sari. In any case, she cannot do things like watching those saints sacrifice without hesitation. In Sari's eyes, she is just a girl, a 16-year-old girl, although she is 5 minutes behind her 13 years old. But Sari has never been so clear about her position. There is no retreat, just like the choice between life and death. People want to live like this, and she is no exception. If there is only one way to become a goddess, then go ahead. Let the storm come more violently. After thinking clearly, Shaji let go of her psychological burden, and her restless heart finally calmed down, and soon she was in an ideal meditative state. Sari felt as if she was trapped in chaos again. A point of light suddenly appeared in the dark world, followed by a violent explosion. A strong shockwave spread, and after a long time, it finally became a complete universe. Shaji was in the universe, and she vaguely saw a person. The person came from a distance and became one with her. With this strong light, Shazi felt as if she had become infinitely large in the light. He was wearing armor, holding a spear and a huge shield. Then another girl with 2 wings, a laurel crown on her head, and a flywheel flew from afar, merged with the spear in Shazi's hand, and turned into a golden staff. In the room, Shazi, who was sitting on the ground meditating, suddenly emitted thousands of golden lights. A golden scepter appeared in front of Shazi out of thin air, followed by an extremely powerful small universe, just like the Big Bang, sweeping the world with a powerful impact. At the same time, whether it is the Ganges River Basin in India, the Wulao Peak in China, the Pamir Plateau, Siberia, the Holy Land, or any corner of the world, this powerful little universe is felt. Standing on the Pamir Plateau, Mu looked into the distance in shock and said slowly, "This huge little universe, could it be? It's possible to have a small universe of this size. Could it be?" A Brody on Greenland looked at the east and wondered. Sitting on the lotus platform, Shaka suddenly opened his eyes and looked towards the far east. Tong, who from Wulao Peak sat quietly in front of the waterfall as usual, with an inaudible smile on his lips. On the ice fields of Siberia, "Do you feel it, Kimu? This small universe is. To be able to reach here, even among the Golden Saints, no one has such a small universe. Could it be? Only that person. But shouldn't the goddess be in the sanctuary? Why does this small universe come from the far east?" Chapter 3 Departure to the Holy Land. "Qingji, have they arrived?" "Yes, miss." "Xingya, do you think the eldest lady has anything to do with us?" "How do I know? That woman must be up to no good." "Saya is right. Anyway, everyone, please be careful." When Saya opened the door of Kido's study room while speaking, what appeared in front of everyone was the open balcony, white curtains flying in the wind, and a girl wearing a white ancient Greek skirt standing at the windowsill. "Look at that girl. Her long silver hair is slightly curled, exuding a soft luster in the sun, and her graceful figure is like an ancient Greek work of art." The girl heard someone talking, so she turned her head. What appeared in front of everyone was a warm and peaceful smile, gentle, deep and compassionate golden eyes, and a beautiful face, like a god. The girl held the golden staff, looked at them with a smile, and said, "You are Saya, Shiryu, Shun, and Hyoga. Nice to meet you. I am Kido Saori." Are you the eldest lady?" Everyone was surprised and lost their voices. Saori smiled and nodded, waiting for everyone's reaction, so the reaction was naturally what she expected. "Really? Are you actually that arrogant young lady?" Xingya spoke unabashedly and took the lead. "Alala, it turns out that in your hearts, I was like this in the past." Saori smiled and didn't care about Xingya's words at all. Everyone's expressions were very exciting. "Hey, miss, I brought the holy cloak back, as promised. Should you also abide by the promise and let me meet my sister?" "Well, even if you are no longer unruly, what does that have to do with me?" Xingya quickly pointed out his purpose and said. Saori's eyes were half lowered, with an apologetic look on her face, and she said, "I'm sorry, I had an accident some time ago, and I can't remember anything from the past." "Huh? Amnesia?" Saya suddenly became excited as he spoke. "Hey, miss, how can this be done? This is why I worked hard to survive the 6 years of special training and brought back the holy cloth. Let us sister and brother meet quickly." Xingya calmed down first. Zilong stopped Xingya and then said to Saori, "Miss Saori, you said you have lost your memory?" "Yes. When I woke up, my mind was blank." Saying that, Saori raised her head and looked at Zilong. Saori didn't think she was lying. After all, she really didn't know anything when she entered this world. The original Kido Saori didn't even leave her anything. "I think she is telling the truth," Shun said. Saori apologized. "I'm sorry, I really don't remember anything, and of course I don't remember the whereabouts of your sister."